Hi everyone, my name is Yaron, and I have an open question for all of the presidential candidates. Will you, as president, choose to inspire and assist the promotion of media content that creates real understanding, real hope, real healing, and real change, not only for Americans, but for our entire human family? That's my question, and I hope to hear from one of you, if not all of you. Thank you.
Yaron, this is Senator Mike Gravel. Though the media doesn't acknowledge it, I'm still a Democratic candidate for President of the United States. I think your question is excellent and certainly heartfelt the way you present it. The basis of any effort worldwide to deal with the violence and the difficulties that we have to try and change world attitudes away from violence towards peace, towards understanding and love, begins with our foreign policy. As long as we have a foreign policy that puts ourselves above all other people, meaning that our vital interests come first, sort of a beggar thy neighbor attitude on economic matters, social matters, defense matters, we will never engender a climate to begin to deal with the problem that you're talking about. It's our foreign policy that stands as a barrier to this whole area. So the first thing we Americans have to do, both in foreign policy and instruct ourselves nationally as Americans, that we have to get away from thinking ourselves superior to everybody else in the world. We are not superior. We're not better than anybody else. And so if we can begin to get our house in order in this country and recognize that we're not better than anybody else, in fact, in many areas, we don't do nearly as good a job as many other people in many other countries. That would begin to position ourselves in a certain humility and get away from the jingoism and the phony patriotism that we have, and begin to look at the peoples of the world that we are part of this global community of human beings, and that we are first and foremost citizens of this community, and that we are secondarily Americans. Now, once we can get that mindset, now we can begin to explore the specific avenues of how we can work with other people to begin to, one, do away with the areas of violence, which means to begin to do away with the whole concept of weapons of mass destruction. Would you believe, Yaron, we as a nation put more weapons into the arms bazaar of the world than any other country in the world. And so if we're going to get away from violence, that's the first thing we've got to do, is begin to stop exporting weapons, whether it's weapons of mass destruction, whether it's rifles, whether it's pistols. We've got to begin to stop exporting that, and then inducing other nations to do the same thing. Sure, they'll give you an argument that, well, if we don't do it, somebody else will do it. Well, not necessarily so. If we can, by example, show that we want to begin to end this syndrome of violence, begetting violence, now we can, by example, begin to make the changes that you aspired to, that we need to do if we're ever to get off of this conundrum of violence, begetting violence. That is the kind of leadership that I would hope to bring as President of the United States. And that would just be the first step. But unfortunately, I see no change with the other people running for office. They talk of change. They offer no change. The key is to empower the American people. The American people have conscience, and a leader must call upon that conscience to do the right thing. If you don't call upon a sense of love that we have for our fellow human beings and the courage that we have that can implement our virtues, it won't happen. We call upon fear, and that's why as a nation we cower in fear, and we're schizophrenic, and we cower in a triumphal arrogance that we're better than everybody else. That is what we have to overcome with a leadership that can begin to do that. I hope I've addressed myself to your question, and here again you have put your finger on what I think is the most fundamental problem the human race faces if we're to survive on this planet. Thank you for posing the question.